Once again, I have a very humble request from everyone who's here. The minister has already arrived. I would like to request everyone to kindly be seated so that we can proceed further with this very innovative session. Outside, the minister has already arrived and we are about to begin with this very interactive session. I would like everyone to kindly be seated. Once again, I repeat, everyone who's standing outside the hall, outside the door, you may enter inside and may be seated because we're about to begin with this very interactive session in a while. Thank you so very much. Once again, I would like to make this announcement that we are about to begin with this very interactive session in a while. Those who are standing outside the hall may enter inside and please take your seat so that we may proceed further. A very warm evening to everyone, and once again I would like to request everyone to kindly be seated as we're about to begin with this very interactive session in a while. Thank you so very much. All right, everyone, so let's welcome our Honorable Union Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Can we have huge round of applause for Shri Narendra Singh Tomar? A big round of applause. All right, so we have Mr. Manish Shah, Chairman NDDB here along with Honorable Union Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare to felicitate our Honorable Minister. Can we have... Sir, I would like you to be here to felicitate our Honorable Minister. Also, I would like to request everyone to kindly be seated. Once again, can we have a huge round of applause? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your amazing presence. In this session, we will discuss managing feed, food and waste are important aspects while trying to move dairying towards circular economy wherein the waste produced from one activity is the input for another activity. Experts will share their experience and ideas in this aspect. To begin with, I would like to call upon stage our Chair, Varsha Joshi, Additional Secretary, Cattle and Dairying, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. Can we have a huge round of applause? She's already here with us on stage. Proceeding further, I would like to introduce all the speakers for this very interactive session. Our first speaker for this very interactive session is Mr. Alad, Global Technical Manager, Dairy, Tro Nutrition, Netherlands. Can we have a huge round of applause for Mr. Alad? Our next speaker for this very interactive session is Mr. Toyu Foku, Director Corporate Planning, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Can we have a huge round of applause? Our next speaker for this very interactive session is Satish Marathi. He's the founder member of Sahakar Bharti. Presently, he is Director Central Board, Reserve Bank of India. Can we have a huge round of applause? All right, so he's not here with us. Proceeding further, let's introduce our next speaker for this very interactive session. Can we have huge round of applause for Mr. Chetan Arun Narake, Director, Gokul Milk Cooperative, Kohlapur, India. Proceeding further, our next speaker for this very interactive session, can we have huge round of applause for Mr. Niranjan Karare. Niranjan Karare is a mechanical engineer and holds post-graduation in rural management from Institute of Rural Management, Anand, IRMA of India. Once again, can we have a huge round of applause to begin this very amazing session? And to begin this very amazing session, I would like to call upon our Honorable Union Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare to address the audience. Sir, मैं आपसे request करूँ कि आप please आएं.
इंटरनेशनल डेयरी फेडरेशन के इस शीर्ष सम्मेलन में हम सब के मध्य इस सत्र में विराजमान आदरणीय वर्षा मैम विभिन्न विषयों पर अपने विचार रखने के लिए अधिकृत विद्वानगण और इस सत्र से संबंध रखने वाले सभी भाइयों बहनों और उपस्थित सज्जनों, मुझे बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि 48 साल बाद इंटरनेशनल डेयरी फेस्टिवल फेडरेशन के इस मौके पर भारत को मेजबानी करने का ये अवसर मिल रहा है। हमारे भारत सरकार की ओर से, मेरे स्वयं की ओर से आप सबका हृदय से बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन है। भारत कृषि प्रधान देश है और जब हम कृषि की बात करते हैं तो उसमें पशुपालन और सहकारिता न हो तो यह बात एक तौर से अधूरी ही रहती है। भारत सरकार में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी लगातार 8 वर्षों से कृषक की आमदनी बढ़े, कृषि के साथ सहायक धंधे उनका विकास हो, कृषि उन्नत कृषि के रूप में तब्दील हो और जो सहायक कामकाज हैं उनको भी सरकार की सहायता मिले, उनको भी बल मिले, जिससे वह क्षेत्र भी अग्रणी भूमिका में आ सकें और देश के विकास में और किसान को समृद्ध बनाने में योगदान कर सके। इस दृष्टि से आप सबके ध्यान में आया होगा कि एक समय था जब पशुपालन हो, मत्स्य पालन हो, सहकारिता हो, यह सब कृषि मंत्रालय के अंतर्गत ही आते थे। लेकिन इन क्षेत्रों को और अधिक ताकत मिले, इस दृष्टि से प्रधानमंत्री जी ने पशुपालन विभाग को अलग बनाया, सहकारिता विभाग को अलग बनाया, अलग मंत्रालय बनाया और उसमें बजट की भी बढ़ोतरी की। इसके पीछे मूल रूप से भावना यही है कि पशुपालन का क्षेत्र बढ़ना चाहिए। पशुपालन का क्षेत्र बढ़ेगा तो दुग्ध का उत्पादन बढ़ेगा, दुग्ध का उत्पादन बढ़ना और पोषकता में उसका योगदान होना यह एक पक्ष है। लेकिन जैसे जैसे दूध का उत्पादन बढ़ता है, उत्पादकता बढ़ती है, उसका प्रसंस्करण होता है, तो निश्चित रूप से किसान को भी दाम ठीक मिलते हैं, इंडस्ट्री भी आगे बढ़ती है, रोजगार के अवसर भी सृजित होते हैं और उसका पूरे देश को फायदा होता है। मुझे इस बात की प्रसन्नता है, दुग्ध उत्पादन की दृष्टि से भारत दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा उत्पादक है और जिस प्रकार से इस क्षेत्र में काम हो रहा है तो पिछले 5 वर्षों में लगभग 6% की वृद्धि या उससे भी थोड़ी अधिक हुई है, जो निश्चित रूप से हम सब लोगों के लिए प्रसन्नता की बात है। विशेष रूप से पशुपालन के क्षेत्र में हमारी अमूल जैसी बड़ी कोऑपरेटिव हैं, उन कोऑपरेटिव में महिलाओं का बड़ा योगदान है। तो जब एक और दूध पर काम होता है तो महिला सशक्तिकरण भी उसमें निहित होता ही है। और आपको यह जानकर प्रसन्नता होगी कि कृषि के क्षेत्र में जब दूध के कुल मूल्य का आकलन करें तो मैं समझता हूँ 9 लाख करोड़ से अधिक का योगदान दुग्ध उत्पादन से होता है। और इसकी तुलना अगर कृषि उत्पादों से करें तो मैं समझता हूँ वो कहीं ज़्यादा है। और इसलिए पिछले दिनों कृषि और संबंधित क्षेत्रों में निजी निवेश बढ़ सके और इन क्षेत्रों को साधन मिल सके, इसलिए जब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात कही थी तो इस क्षेत्र में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाने के लिए, साधन की उपलब्धता के लिए एक विशेष पैकेज की घोषणा की थी, जिसमें एग्रीकल्चर इंफ्रा के लिए 1 लाख करोड़ रुपया, एनिमल हस्बेंड्री के लिए 15,000 करोड़ रुपया, फिशरीज के लिए 20,000 करोड़ रुपया। और इसकी पूरी उपलब्धता है। जो प्रोजेक्ट राज्य सरकार के माध्यम से, सहकारिता के माध्यम से या किसान के माध्यम से आ रहे हैं, उनको भी भारत सरकार बैंकों के माध्यम से फैसिलिटेशन कर रही है, जिसका फायदा भी निश्चित रूप से आने वाले कल में इस क्षेत्र को मिलने वाला है। निश्चित रूप से इस क्षेत्र के सामने चुनौतियां भी हैं और उन चुनौतियों पर विमर्श करने की भी जरूरत है, काम करने की भी जरूरत है। मुझे इस बात की प्रसन्नता है कि उन चुनौतियों का समाधान करने के लिए एक तरफ कृषक भी काम कर रहे हैं, एग्री स्टार्टअप भी उस दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं, कोऑपरेटिव्स भी काम कर रही हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हर छोटी छोटी चीज पर बल दिया है, जिससे कि समग्र रूप से एक उत्साह जागृत हुआ है। लेकिन वर्तमान परिस्थितियों में, बदलते युग में, मशीनीकरण के प्रभाव के कारण भी, किसी किसी जगह अभाव के कारण भी कुछ संकट खड़े हो रहे हैं, जिसमें प्रमुख रूप से हम देखेंगे तो ध्यान में आएगा कि आने वाला कल पशुओं के लिए चारे का संकट खड़ा करता है। चारे की पर्याप्त मात्रा में उपलब्धता आने वाले कल में कैसे हो, उसका क्या क्या माध्यम हो सकता है, इस पर निश्चित रूप से गंभीरता से विचार करने की आवश्यकता है। हम सब इस बात को भलीभांति जानते हैं कि सामान्य तौर पर जिसे हमारे यहाँ वेस्ट मानते हैं, अगर हम उसका ठीक प्रकार से उपयोग नहीं करेंगे तो आने वाले कल में पर्यावरण के लिए भी संकट खड़ा होगा और पशु चारे के लिए तो संकट खड़ा ही होगा। पराली का विषय हमेशा हमारे देश के सामने आता ही रहता है। सब इस बात को जानते भी हैं कि पराली जलाना यह एक तौर से अवशिष्ट का नुकसान करना भी है। अपशिष्ट से जो आय हो सकती है वो भी नहीं हो पाती अगर हम जलाएंगे तो। और जलाते हैं तो भूमि का भी नुकसान करते हैं, और भूमि में जो मित्र कीट हैं उन कीटों को भी एक तौर से हम लोग नुकसान करते हैं, जिसका कुल मिला के नुकसान मिट्टी की सेहत पर भी होता है और आने वाले कल में उत्पादकता पर भी होएगा। तो इस दृष्टि से खेत का अवशिष्ट हो या घरों में सब्जी और फलों का अवशिष्ट हो, उसका भी निस्तारण और उसको भी वेल्थ में बदलना, यह मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही सामायिक विषय है। इस विषय पर काम करने वाले लोग अपने विचार व्यक्त आज करने वाले हैं, उसमें से कुछ निष्कर्ष निकलेंगे, आगे बढ़कर काम करने में और मदद मिलेगी। पशुओं का चारे की उपलब्धता पर्याप्त मात्रा में हो, यह आवश्यक है, लेकिन जो वेस्ट है उसका हम विविध प्रकार से कैसे उपयोग कर सकते हैं, इस दिशा में काम करने की आवश्यकता है। पराली के लिए टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करते हुए हमारे पूसा संस्थान ने भी डिकम्पोजर बनाया है, उसका उपयोग हो रहा है, उससे खेत में उत्पादकता बढ़ेगी। दूसरा, पशुओं के लिए चारा बनाया जा सके, इस दृष्टि से भी कुछ जगह इसका प्रसंस्करण किया जा रहा है, लेकिन बड़े पैमाने पर करने की आवश्यकता है। मैं जिस क्षेत्र में रहता हूँ उस क्षेत्र में एक स्थान है गोरस। गोरस ग्रामीण क्षेत्र है, ट्राइबल पॉपुलेशन है, और एक कालखंड था जब वो गिर गाय का बड़ा क्लस्टर हुआ करता था। जानकारियों का अभाव, उसके कारण अब बहुत सारी गाय उनमें क्रॉस भी हो गई हैं, लेकिन मैं देखता हूं कि उस स्थान पर लगभग 30,000 के आसपास गौधन है, लेकिन चारे के अभाव के कारण जब गर्मी का सीजन होता है तो वो लोग 100-100, 200-200, 300-300 मील तक जाकर पशुओं को बाहर चराने के लिए जाने के लिए विवश होते हैं, और इस कारण से उनका जिस प्रकार से विकास होना चाहिए हो नहीं पाता। अब हम लोगों ने इस दिशा में काम शुरू किया है। वेस्ट में गोबर भी है, गोबर से भी अनेक प्रकार के उत्पाद बनाए जा सकते हैं। भारत सरकार ने गोवर्धन योजना आरंभ की है। गोबर को प्रोसेस करके हम ऊर्जा की तरह उसका उपयोग कर सकते हैं, वो किसान की आमदनी बढ़ाने के भी काम आएगा। अवशिष्ट को भी प्रोसेस करेंगे तो उससे पर्यावरण को जो नुकसान हो सकता है उससे भी हम बच सकेंगे। साथ ही साथ प्राकृतिक खेती पर भी बल देने की कोशिश हो रही है। प्राकृतिक खेती पर किसान जाएंगे, जैविक खेती पर किसान जाएंगे, तो निश्चित रूप से इस वेस्ट का उपयोग खेती के लिए बहुत अच्छे से हो सकेगा। और आज जरूरत इस बात की है कि विशेष रूप से, वैसे तो सामान्य तौर पर हर व्यक्ति स्वच्छ खाना चाहता है और स्वस्थ रहना चाहता है, लेकिन कोविड के कालखंड के बाद लोगों में अभूतपूर्व सुधार आया है। अब स्वास्थ्य के ध्यान पर भी उसकी प्राथमिकता है, और स्वच्छ उत्पादन हो, 4 पैसे ज़्यादा भी लगें, उस पर भी उसका ध्यान गया है। तो ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग और नेचुरल फार्मिंग, इसका काम भी बढ़ता जा रहा है और सारी दुनिया में इसकी मांग है। अभी पिछले दिनों भारत ने लगभग ₹4,00,000 करोड़ का एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्ट्स का एक्सपोर्ट किया। ये अब अभी तक का सबसे ज़्यादा बड़ी वृद्धि है और इसमें बड़ी मात्रा ऑर्गेनिक प्रोडक्ट की है। तो इस दिशा में सरकार और चिंतक काम कर रहे हैं और मुझे लगता है कि हम सब लोगों को आज के इस सत्र में विचार करने की जो आवश्यकता है वो इन्हीं विषयों पर है कि हमारे पशु को आहार कैसा मिले, वो आहार के बारे में जागरूकता कैसे बढ़े, क्योंकि जागरूकता बढ़ेगी तो आहार का ठीक प्रकार से किसान उपयोग कर पाएगा। ठीक प्रकार से अगर उपयोग होगा तो पशु के भीतर दूध बढ़ेगा, दूध बढ़ेगा तो दूध की जो अर्थव्यवस्था है उसमें एक बड़ा योगदान हो सकेगा। तो इस दृष्टि से मैं समझता हूँ इस पूरी कॉन्फ्रेंस में बहुत सारे सत्र हुए होंगे, लेकिन यह सत्र भी इस पूरी कॉन्फ्रेंस की दृष्टि से बहुत महत्व रखता है। मैं तो इस अवसर पर आप सबको यही कह सकता हूँ कि पूरे विमर्श में जो निष्कर्ष आएंगे भारत सरकार उसको अत्यंत गंभीरता के साथ लेगी और विचार पूर्वक उस पर आगे बढ़ेगी। आप सबका यह सम्मेलन और सत्र सफलता के सोपान तक पहुँचे, इसके लिए मेरी बहुत शुभकामनाएं। धन्यवाद।
Now I would like to request our chair to begin with this very interactive session. Varsha Joshi, Additional Secretary, Cattle and Dairying Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India.
Respected Sir Narendra Singh Tomar Sir, Honorable Minister, Union Minister for Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and honored panelists on the dais today. Sir, we are very, very honored for your presence in this particular session, because this is the one session which indicates the intimate connection between agriculture and dairying, which is something which has historically always been a joint activity in the farmers' life cycle in India. And on one side, feed and fodder comprises something like 70 to 75% of the cost of undertaking dairying for a farmer in India. So good quality fodder availability is the most important single input for a dairy farmer. And in today's session, we look forward to more inputs on this subject from our panelists. The ministry, the new Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying has certain schemes under the National Livestock Mission for improving the availability of good quality feed and fodder. There is one scheme in which entrepreneurs, young people from the villages, they can get 50% subsidy to start their own fodder activities in the village. They can buy machinery, they can create silage. There is another scheme in which all institutions are welcome to take a full incentive for creation of breeder seeds and foundation seeds, which can then be supplied to the farmers. So in our own way, this ministry is trying its best to improve the availability of fodder, but needless to say, the contribution of the Agriculture Ministry in this subject will be the maximum, and therefore we seek the cooperation and help of Tomar sir in this. The Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying, and in particular our Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, has always worked in tandem with the National Dairy Development Board in bringing the best possible livelihood to our dairy farmers and the best productivity. And for this, the National Dairy Plan undertook a lot of activity towards improving the knowledge of farmers and how best to give fodder through ration balancing, through the propagation of new fodder species such as moringa, And we propose to continue this joint activity in the case of all feed and fodder. On the other side is the input towards income, towards energy efficiency, towards energy self-sufficiency, and towards better quality of soil through the use of cow dung and manure. And for this, Honorable Prime Minister has given so much emphasis to this activity. The Gobardhan scheme is working towards this. Jointly, the ministry and the NDDB have set up the new plant at Ramnagar in Banaras, a biogas plant, which will eventually, the entire processing of the dairy plant situated there is going to be based on biogas energy only. The work on that has already started. The Zakarapur experiment, which has been extremely successful and is now being replicated across the country. I'm sure Niranjan, who is on the dais today, will be talking about it, and everyone will know more about it. NDDB has also, through a joint decision of the ministry and the NDDB, has set up a new subsidiary company called Mrida, just to take up all activities related to the best possible manure management and the best utilization of cow dung. And as Sir mentioned, and Honorable Prime Minister's emphasis on natural farming can only happen when this entire life cycle works smoothly and to the best benefit of the farmers. So to start with the presentations today, I first welcome Mr. Allard Esselink, Global Technology Deployment Specialist from Trau Nutrition Global Innovation, on the topic Managing Feed for Dairy Animals.
Thank you for introduction. Thank you for being here, being invited, and to speak about, I think, a very important topic that is managing feed for dairy cows. And I'm happy to see that there are different programs to improve the quality of fodder, and because fodder is the main component for a dairy cow. So, okay. One slide to my company. I work for Trau Nutrition. We are, as a part of Nutreco, a global animal feed company. We're active in more than 100 countries across the globe, with Trau Nutrition for the animal feed and Skretting for the fish feed division. The company's mission is feeding the future, and I think that's where our worlds are meeting. I want to speak to 5 topics about this during this part. It's about the global dairy and challenges, the global developments in dairy, and the challenge in the Indian dairy, so how does it compare to what we see in other countries, our approach and some projects we run in India, and I have a couple of takeaway messages that when you go home you can do things tomorrow different. This slide I borrowed from the One World in Data, and this is about the population growth in the next decade to come. So this slide likely has been presented in other meetings also, but we see especially Asia and Africa enormous growth in population coming. That's one part, but the other part, I think it's just as interesting, with the rise of the GDP per capita on the horizontal axis. The amount of animal protein per person is also increasing. So we have an increasing population and an increasing demand for animal protein. So that's what's happening, and that's where we need to think, how can we do things? So the bigger question is, how do we feed the future in a sustainable way? We talk about 10 billion people. In the next decades, we need to produce 60% more food for people. But food production also comes with a challenge on sustainability. So we need to produce this food with 75% less emissions. And we believe that the sustainable dairy farming can help push net zero and make nourishes feed for human beings. So what does it mean? Responsible food production in a sustainable way. So addressing food security, number one, is there enough? And number two, the food we produce is safe and free from milk. When we talk about antibiotics, we don't want antibiotics in milk, and we also don't want aflatoxin or other things in milk. And so we want to produce safe food which I can nourish my family. So environmental sustainable means that we don't pollute the environment. We use renewable resources that have neutral impact on biodiversity and recycle or upcycle as much raw materials and nutrients as possible. And luckily we have the cow. And the cow can make from what you mentioned, the waste from the food processing or from other things, high quality of protein. So with the production of food, about 60% of the crop is not fit for human consumption. People, at least in the West, tend to forget that. They think we can eat it all. And we know a lot of it cannot be processed by humans, so we luckily have a cow who can make nice milk from this product. Respecting animal welfare. Do I treat my cows well? And social ethical concerns. Socially sustainable and a value chain. Can the farmer be a farmer in the generations ahead? Meaning does milk production provides the farmer and his or her family with an income from where they can make a living. And do his kids, and that's also important, want to be a farmer also, in the part of succession. So observing all this, it's good to have a look at what happened in the world regarding the production of milk. And this picture drew my attention a couple of years ago. I saw it somewhere on social media, but what you can see, for the production of almost 5 times the amount of milk, in the US they need about 1/3 of the animals which they had before, resulting in a need for feed which is approximately 75% less than about 80 years ago for the same kilo of milk. So, and that's also what IPCC states in the report, the productivity increased, and as a result, the greenhouse gas per unit produced went down. I think that is an important message we need to think of. So looking at milk production, I took 2 countries, one from the Netherlands where I come from, and one from the US. We see in 1944 in the US they produced to 2,000 kilo milk, and in 1985 in the Netherlands they produced 5,600 kilo milk. But we see, I always say, we cannot jump from the soil on the roof. We need to take it step by step. So we see the growth rate was about 100 kilo milk per cow per year. So not double or triple in 1 year, hardly impossible, but we need to take it step by step. So a couple of steps can be taken, and one is the genetics, and you can see what happened to the fundament of the cow. And this is a Dutch picture I took from about 1950, and this last one is from the World Dairy Show in the medicine from last year. So we see that there is an enormous increase in fundament of the cow. So genetics, number one. Water supply, quality and quantity. Nutrition, quality, quantity, and knowledge. And knowledge, I think, is very important. Housing, I will speak briefly on cow comfort. And advice and training. That's also what is mentioned by my previous speaker, that there is invested in education of farmers and the sector around it. And I will elaborate on the most important points hereafter. So first, we need to have the right animal. And the right animal depending on where you are in the country. It can be a cow, it can be a buffalo, and they also heard a nice session on camel milk. And so camel can also be an interesting animal for certain regions. Genetic companies can contribute to this with breeding programs, and more recently we work with genomics, where we know how to increase, or what's the potential of the cow which is born. So after selecting the right animals, the first thing you do is feed the calf when she's born with 10% of the body weight on colostrum. That means is a calf 40 kilo, you feed her 4 kilo of colostrum. And yes, I know it is also very healthy and good for humans, but this is the best thing you can do for for starting. You give your calf a real good start with that. So next step, we need to focus on the quality and quantity of feed supplied to the animals, and I will explain more in the next slides. To improve milk production, feed should be available to the cow all the day and night. A cow is a ruminant and she needs to have feed available all the time. And I sure appreciate there is a lack of fodder, but we need to see how can we use it in the best way. Cow comfort seems to be a luxury on farm. So when we want to improve the milk production of cow, she needs to be able to lie down 14 hours per day. I see more than enough cows across the globe on a concrete floor where they don't want to lay down very nice. So they stand, and standing, we always say, standing kills a cow. We have 500 or 600 kilo on 4 hoofs, and it is not good for the animal. So she needs to lay down on a soft wood bedding. Very important thing to do. Take into account the steps just mentioned, we can improve the lifetime daily yield of the cow. Explain a bit more, but it's the amount of milk produced in her whole life divided by the number of days this cow lived. I'll show why this is important after this. So importance on roughage quality is mentioned, but I will take this slide as an example. The rule of thumb, and I like simple calculations. A cow can eat about 1% of her body weight in NDF, neutral detergent fiber. This means 5.5 kilo NDF for a cow of 550 kilos. This will, with a forage of 65% NDF, straw or stocks or whatever, result in a potential milk production of this roughage from 2.3 kilo milk. Where a high quality of roughage with 40% NDF, a good quality of grass silage or corn silage, potentially will have 12 kilo milk production possible of the same forage. Not any feed additive or compound feed can compensate for this. So that's why roughage always number one. And I'm very happy to see that there are programs to increase the roughage quality. And that is very simple said, yes, increase roughage quality. But start with the basics, to plant the right crop. If you're in an area where it's extreme dry, you cannot plant the ryegrass because it will not survive. You need other forage. So then use manure or if allowed fertilizer to grow the crops. Because what I do not feed my plant will not come out of this crop. And once they are harvested, you should take care of a good processing while harvesting, and maybe use the silage preservatives in case of necessary. It will increase the amount of feed produced as well as the quality of feed, both from nutritional, from energy or protein side, as well as from a feed hygiene, for instance, a toxin point of view. So having the silage, we can measure, and we should measure the feed quality. Based on the analysis, of course, as a nutritionist, I want to adjust the diet, that's number one. But number two, I need to look back, because I can learn, was my fertilization, the put of manure, was that good? Was the time of harvest, was I too early, or was I too late, or just in time? So both looking forward and looking backwards. And therefore we developed calibration lines with our NAR system, both for a desktop machine in the laboratory, as well on farm with a simple tool which can estimate, which can measure the quality of my forage within minutes after scanning this. And of course, these values should be direct put in the feed formulation software. And via MicroMaster, mycotoxin levels can be measured, enabling to act on the levels of toxins. Next to that, we need to safeguard hygiene while feeding. And I have a nice example. This is a big silo, but you see it is very clean, and I really like this, no waste. So, and we don't want this. This is what I also see on farms, where I see feed getting warm, I see mold going, and I need to throw away feed, which I think is a waste of usage. The production of milk also comes with a carbon footprint, and we can like it or not, but it's what it is. We should also look at the possibilities to reduce that. And this slide I borrowed from IFCN, that you see here on the horizontal axis the amount of milk per year in 1,000 kilos and the amount of CO2 equivalent per kilo milk. So the best and the most simple thing you can do to decrease your carbon footprint is increase production of your cows. Also, the reduction of the age at first calving and your number of replacement heifers will have an effect. And so if I increase my lifespan of my cow, I will contribute to a significant reduction of the footprint. Diet composition, where do I source my raw materials from, has an effect. And also the manure systems will have an impact. And I'm very happy with the next session on biogas, because about 15 to 20% of my carbon footprint in a normal system comes from manure systems. And via biogas we can also decrease that part. So when I then look at the Indian dairy sector, we see a lot of smallholder farms. To reach them is a challenge. And next to that there is a challenge in forage availability, and therefore we see that animals are not fed ad libitum. And also we see a relative high age at first calving. And therefore I make this table and I look at the forage, at the amount of dry matter an animal needs. So when I have a calving age of 2 years, I need about 5,000 kilo dry matter in these 2 years. When I have a 3 years calving, first calving, I need 8,300 kilo of dry matter feed. And we just said there is not enough feed, but we're in a kind of circle here. And so also there we cannot go from 36 to 24 months in a year, but we need to make steps to be aware and to increase. The next one is raw material variability and price volatility. Therefore, I think analyzing the feed, knowing what you have, and also knowing how to compensate with the right product is very important to do. Cost of replacement is rather high, so we need to see rearing as an investment instead of a cost. The calf is your future productivity and your future source of income. The current genetics not totally supported by nutrition, so this means when I feed my animals better, I dilute my maintenance. So in the graph here, the gray block is the maintenance. So I feed a cow for about 10 kilo milk, that's maintenance. So for the next 10 kilo milk, I have another time maintenance on top. So for 20 kilo milk, I have 2/3 is is production and 1/3 is maintenance. And I can dilute that by increasing. So when we increase the productivity, my peak goes up and I have more milk produced. So it is nice, it is theory, anyone can tell this kind of story. But it's about, okay, what can we do and how do we make progress here? So we cooperate in 2 projects, using what I explained earlier on. The first project we do is Trust the Dairy. We cooperate with Solidaridad, Govind, and Agricultural Development Trust Dharmati. So we work on a sustainable small dairy model. We work on forage quality and availability, looking into silage preservation and analyzing the feed. Another point is that in our laboratory we work on local raw material mapping. This means together with a global nutrition and formulation team, and we work on what is the quality of the ingredients. We measure in the laboratory, the nutrition, the proximate values, and look at how it is processed, and can we calculate the energy and the protein values we want to use in the diet. And we work on increase longevity of the cows, more lactation. In the start with checking your jongstock rearing. Do my animals grow good enough, and can I breed them at the right time? And with the above steps and improving the animal health, we reduce the carbon footprint of the milk. Here we see the CO2 per kilo fat protein corrected milk, and on the horizontal axis the milk yield per day of life. And so for instance, if I have a cow calving at 24 months and producing in 1 lactation 3,000 kilo milk, her lifetime daily yield is 2.7 kilo. So we're at the total left part of the curve. Extending her lifetime and putting more liters milk will move me more to the right side of the curve. And at last, we work on milk traceability by monitoring the supply chain with digital interventions. The second project we run with Stellabs. We try to complement the existing model through digital interventions, both up and downstream. Meaning that, for instance, milk is monitored all the way from the collection center till processing, that the payment takes place also via this platform. There are also extension activities to improve knowledge on farm management and nutrition for the farmers, and we follow a train-the-trainer approach. That means we educate people who, with farmers together, but also the people who educate farmers. In this way, we want to build a better ecosystem to improve dairy farming. And at the end of my presentation, I have some takeaways. So the most important one is work on your forest quality. Plant the right crop, work on manure management, so without manure, no feed. In the Netherlands, we have a big issue with manure. We consider it as a waste, but it is a gold for the plant. So we need to have a right application for the manure. Time of harvest. Too early, not enough, too late. I have low digestibility, no good quality. And siling procedures. How do I do this? Right compacting, right preservation, and right packing of my silo. Measure my feed quality and act on this. Too often I see that people measure feed quality and say, okay, nice, and now I go on with what I did. I need to measure and I need to act on this. And procedures while feeding. Prevent heating up at the bunk and prevent too high levels of leftovers. And the use of local raw materials. What I mentioned, the ruminant is a champion in turning waste into high valuable product and high nutritional milk. And we need to use that characteristic to the full extent. Therefore, we need to gather and use the knowledge on the origin of the product, how it is processed, how it is treated, and what is the nutritional and the chemical composition, and then we can calculate the derived nutrients like energy and protein, whatever. And then we know how to apply in the diet in order to make a high quality and safe glass of milk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alan Esselink. That was an extremely interesting and informative talk. I think it gave us all a lot of food for thought, if you'll forgive the pun. I now welcome Mr. Kenichiro Toyofuku, Director Corporate Planning, Maruti Suzuki India Limited, for a much awaited session on the biogas vehicle fuel for rural development and net zero.
Shri Narendra Singh Tomaji, Government of India, Minister of Agriculture, and distinguished guest on the dais, and Shri Minesh Shaji, Chairman NDDB, my guru of Biogas Project, and ladies and gentlemen, this is Toyofuku. I am from the Maruti Suzuki India private companies. I think this is the first person to participate the daily summit from auto industry. So, and today I would like to explain our proposals. How to contribute the rural development and net zero and global warming from the viewpoint of auto industries. Now I come to know dairy industry and the auto industry should collaborate in future in India. Please go to next page. Green. Okay. Before explain the details, I would like to explain first very important point from this photo. This photo is Maruti Suzuki Eco vehicle. This is CNG car. And this is the Bio CNG stand. Then Eco CNG car can run by the biogas. I think that everybody knows CNG vehicle, but now not so many person understand. Biogas can inject directly to CNG vehicle without the change of parts. And this is the first important point. Please understand this one. And the next one, I would like to explain for this project, two infrastructure required. First one is a CNG vehicle. India is a very unique country. Now CNG vehicle is very, very common in all over the India. So far, currently is in Maruti Suzuki, in last month, 20% of our sales is CNG vehicle only. We appreciate so much the initiative from the government of India. Currently is in all over the India, 5,000 CNG station is available. Now in 2030, now 17,000 CNG stand will come to India. This means that more cities and the rural area can access to CNG stand in India. So that's why now Maruti Suzuki is planning to produce more CNG vehicle in India. This one itself can contribute for net zero and the carbon neutrality. And now in all over the India, 80% of CNG vehicle is manufactured by Maruti Suzuki. We are more focusing on CNG vehicle for future. This is the first infrastructure to use the biogas for mobility. And the second infrastructure is a biogas plant. This one, we required support from NDDB and many dairy cooperatives. I think I'll skip to explain more details about the biogas plant. Maybe everybody knows about this one. But anyway, this biogas plant is a very, very important infrastructure. no mobility and no logistics so far. However, I personally like to visit the Indian villages by myself and with my family. So I observed last 18 years for many of villages in all over the India. Now village economy, village life is changing. I observed more details. Then I think the mobile phone, smartphone network could change the life in the village. Now they can access more data through internet. For example, they can access to mobile online learning and mobile banking and the medical service also they can get from internet. However, only data connection is possible. Next, they would like to access the mobility and the logistics. This is very important. Now they have to rely on some not safe, unsafe mobility and the shortage of mobility. So that's why we would like to provide affordable and the safety mobility for village people. This one is changing a lot in the life and the economy in the villages. So then next I would like to explain how to promote affordable mobility in village. This one, biogas role is very important. So last 2 years, I have done some pilot study research in 4 villages, 2 villages in Gujarat, 1 village in Rajasthan, 1 is Jharkhand. We provide 5 vehicles in the village people. Then we calculate the income and the cost like this. I apologize, this CNG and the petrol is opposite. Now I'd like to explain this graph. This red color one is a monthly cost of fuel. And the yellow one is a EMI of the vehicle. Now we come to know, for the village people, vehicle cost is not so much. Fuel cost is a very, very big impact in terms of the cost. Then after that, we lease the 5 vehicles in the village people. Then village people is very, very clever enough. They create the new business using this vehicle. Then monthly income is 28,000 rupees. So then this left side is a petrol vehicle. In petrol vehicle, the fuel cost is 19,000, roughly is 20,000 Indian rupee per month. So after deducted the petrol cost, then I think the profit could be negative. But in the right side, this is the CNG vehicle. Then CNG fuel cost is 40% less than petrol. After that, this driver could get the profit. This means we can provide a CNG in the village. Many vehicles and the driver can start the business utilizing a vehicle. So that's why if we could provide the CBG, biogas in the rural area, more and more village people can use the vehicle. So they will provide a transport service. They can provide a logistics service for village. So that's why CBG, biogas, mainly for the village, is very important to increase the logistics and the transport for village people. Next, from our study, I would like to explain the good example how to use our vehicles in village. First example is our super carry small truck. Before that, farmers doesn't have the truck and the logistics by themselves. That's why every time I think the wholesale person come to the village, they purchase the vegetables and the fruits. So after that, selling price of the vegetable and the fruits is very, very low. So if after we provide the super carry for the village people, they can bring the fruits and the vegetable to the market by themselves. After that, we can observe 80% of the income will increase for the farmers. This is a very good benefit for farmers. And the second one is eco vehicle. So then village drivers can start the many business. Same vehicle, sometimes use as a taxi, and sometimes transport the newspaper. And in COVID season, they will use this vehicle as an ambulance. So that for many purposes, they are using the one vehicle. So after that, I met the one driver. This driver earning salary income is 40,000 Indian rupee per month. This is enough income to buy the new vehicle as an auto loan. So that's why if we could provide a vehicle for village people, they can utilize vehicle. They can provide the logistics and the transport service by themselves. So this indirect benefit is very, very huge. After that, some children can go to the school nearby city, and some person can get the new job in the city. And of course, farmer can increase the salary to selling the vegetable and the fruits. And many benefit from this vehicle. So that's why biogas role is very, very important to enhance the economy in the villages. So this is the how to contribute the rural economy. And the next, I would like to explain how to contribute the climate change and the net zero. Please look at the data of right side. This number is if 1 kilometer running the vehicle, depend on the fuel and the model, how many CO2 exhausted. Petrol vehicle, 1 kilometer running, 142 grams of CO2 they generate. And the CNG vehicle much lower, 125 grams of CO2. Electric vehicle, you feel it is no CO2 coming. But please see the left side. This one, we take into account the fuel also. This means later I would like to explain more details. Electric vehicles is consuming the powers, electricity. Now, more than half of the electricity in India generated by coal thermal power plant. So that's why in the power plant, they are generating the many of the CO2. So that's why electric vehicle also generating the 62 grams of CO2 per kilometer. Compared to this, biogas is minus 747 of CO2. This is the more excellent data. So this one, how to calculate the minus emission, I will explain in the next pages. This one is a little bit complicated. Please see the red color one. Now in India, many of cow drop the cow dung. As usual, cow dung itself generate the methane, and the methane will come to the atmosphere. And now GWP means global warming potential. Methane is 28 times harmful for global warming compared to CO2. So that's why how to capture the methane before going to atmosphere is very important in terms of the climate change. So in our biogas plant, we will capture the methane before going to atmosphere. So after that, we purify and we compress, inject in the CNG vehicle. Then inside the engine of the CNG vehicle, it is burning, means methane burning and changing to CO2. This means 28 times global warming potential become the one. So that's why huge reduction of the global warming potential will happen. So that's why cow dung based biogas plant plus CNG vehicle will contribute to reduce the global warming and the net zero. So that's why we calculate based on the data from the California state of USA. Then we calculate 1 per kilometer running of the biogas vehicle is minus 747 grams of CO2. This means more running more and more long distance, then it is reducing the CO2 more. This is very exciting and a very, very important figure. But now everybody say electric vehicle is only one solution to achieve the net zero in the vehicle. But I guarantee CBG vehicle, biogas vehicle is much, much better than electric vehicle. So of course, Maruti Suzuki also launched the electric vehicle in 2024. However, we should more focusing on the biogas project. So that's why we would like to promote the biogas project together with NTDP. Then now, what the challenge? Next one. Sorry, I skipped. And of course, biogas plant is not so many in India so far. But in terms of the quantity, in terms of the volume, how much potential we have in India? Now in India, maybe you know much more than me, 300 million of cow is available. Then every cow more than 10 kg per day cow dung is coming. Now we calculate everything. So after that, every year, 30 million vehicle can run through the biogas only from the cow dung. Now our in Indian market, automobile market is roughly the 3 million vehicle new car in 1 year. One vehicle is running for 10 years, means 30 million vehicle is on the road now. So that's why if we can change the 100% of cow dung, all the vehicle on the road, we can empower from biogas. Then now I calculate. One CNG vehicle, every day, for example, 80 kilometer, 100 kilometer running, how many cow is required? 10 cow required to provide the biogas for one vehicle. Yeah. So that's why, so you are facing the many cow every day. So please think over, if you find the 10 cows, then after that, you can move the one vehicle from this one. Yes. Then in future, we are seriously promote the biogas project in India. We have 3 challenges. And how to improve the financial viability of the biogas plant. This is the most important. If we could make the financially viable biogas plant, we can immediately duplicate in all over the India. So that's why most important challenge is how to make the viable, financially viable of biogas plant. So we will challenge together with NTDP. And the second one is organic manure is very important compared to biogas product. organic manure sales. Income is much more than biogas sales. So that's why how to improve the crop yield is very important to make a good biomanure. This one also, I think that we require the support from the agriculture minister. And the third one is the quality of the biogas. Now we are automobile industries. That's why now we would like to make some assure program, how to assure, how to certificate the quality of the biogas. I know some of the biogas creating the problem for the vehicle. But this is not good for spread for all over the India. So that's why to ensure the quality of the biogas is very important. These three challenges we will solve in future, and we would like to spread the biogas project in all over the world. And of course, in future, I think that many daily person is there. We would like to work together with you in future in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toyofuku. I think it's really useful that an auto person has come to a dairy summit. This is the response you've got. Thank you so much. I think that data is really inspiring for the kind of work we need to do to make biogas more sustainable in the future. I now welcome Mr. Chetan Arun Narake, Director, Gokul Milk Cooperative, Kolhapur, for his presentation on a case study in Kolhapur Milk Union on the circular economy for dairy.
Good evening, everyone. Honorable Minister, distinguished guest, and this amazing crowd as well. Good evening, everyone. Today's my topic of discussion is the circular economy through the dairy industry, and I'm taking an example of Kolhapur Milk Union as a case study for this one. As you have seen, probably last 2 days, everybody discussing about the full potential of the dairy industry, especially in India. Just to give you a quick review, what's happening at the global level. We are under 481 million metric tons currently, the volume we have, and it's growing between 1 to 3%. We're looking at the total population of the world is around in terms of animals, is around 1.6 billion. And the total population of human beings are 7.9, growing at around 1%. But if you look at India as well, we are currently #1 milk producer in the world. We have close to 220 million metric tons of production of milk happening, which is a growth between 6 to 15%, the CAGR in the next 2023 to 2033. So I feel just looking at it, I feel India has a great potential into the milk production sector. Specifically, if we take an example where I come from is the city of Kolhapur, which is part of Maharashtra. And first of all, I'd like to thank you, the IDF, to allow me to take an example of Gokul Milk as well, which is a cooperative, and to present it over here as a case study. If you look at the Kolhapur's, your capital availability of milk is around 489 grams per day. If you look at Maharashtra's, is around 217 grams per day. But if you look at total India, we are almost close to 430 grams per day. So if you look at total potential, I feel with the world's population and the growth in India's population, where we're going to be almost 1.3 billion by 2030, we have a huge potential for the milk and a great potential for the milk industry as well. Just to give you a quick glance in terms of what Kolhapur Milk Union is based off, we have a collection of almost 15 to 20 lakh liters a day that we are currently we're doing. The total business size of Kolhapur Milk Federation around 3,500 crores. And we are almost connected to 0.7 million farmers that are working with the Google at this point of time, and we are serving close to 7 million clients or the consumers who are actually attached to this one. Just to give a quick idea about what feed, food, and wastage mean. Just to give a quick idea, you can see on the screen that when it comes to the feed, Google Milk is providing not only the support for the fair remuneration of the milk, but also the cattle feed products, which include the compound cattle feed, TMR, feed supplements including mineral mixture, calf starters, and patented milk replacers for the calves. Fodder development, which we are providing the support for seeds, silage, silage pit, and the chop cutter. Veterinarians services, which include consultation, vaccination, alternative medications. At the same time, we're doing the ration balancing program. And I really wanted to thank Mr. Manish Shah as well as the NDDB team to really providing all the support for the innovation in terms of getting things done. When it comes to the milk producer, Google providing many facilities in terms of fair remuneration for the milk, unique female calf raising schemes, Google Gram Vikas Yojana, it's a community development program, Provident Fund schemes implemented for milk producers, farmers insurance package programs, then women dairy cooperative leadership development, which is trained by NDDB as well, and micro training centers for farmers education. In terms of wastage, if you see, you have already working as Kenichiro-san have just mentioned about the biogas. We are doing that in terms of 2CM and CCM, which is produced methane gas through cooking. Slurry processing plant we have already in place, where we're using the result into organic manure. We have growth hormones, as well as the bioproducts which are working with the Mahila Bachat Guts, which is allowing the woman empowerment as well through these additional products. We have also done ETP plant output, which is used to run the gas turbines to generate electricity and treated waters, which are using for the gardening and the irrigation purpose as well. And the waste heat recovery by using micro steam turbines for electricity generation as well. Also, we are doing right now the open access solar plant for electricity generation. In short, we are making sure that every part of the value chain holistically being developed, making sure that we are getting the maximum return on our investments and improving the productivity. To do so, we are keeping in mind the concept of value for money and value for many as well. When we're looking for value for money, we are trying to get the product available to an affordable price in a quality manner to the consumer. But in terms of when it comes to value for many, in terms of our farmers, we're making sure that we are giving back 80 to 80% of the money back to the farmers. So we are making sure that we want to run the business in such a way that milk is not only going to be the profit for the farmers, but the remaining byproducts will provide you all the costs that is necessary to run the dairy products. So that's our goal. Just to give you an idea, we are not only focusing on the technology, which includes Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, clouds, blockchain for the traceability, where if we go to the international standard, the consumer should know where the product is coming from, where it is grown, what feed is given, what are the vaccinations are given. So we're making sure, as a part of the future, we are using the blockchain technology also to monitor any cattle are sick or having any diseases. We're using the IoT, which is putting the chip into the farmers' cattle to make sure that we can monitor based on our mobile scheme as well. So we are making sure that we are taking the maximum output and the maximum product from every step that we include to the dairy business. As we know, in the foreign countries, we have less animal, in India, we have less animal holdings, and foreigners, we have more than 200 or 300 herds, which makes it much easier to have a zero-touch milk procurement. We are using we can't do that in Maharashtra right now, but we're using the Milko buses or Milko bikes, which are actually gathering the milk and procuring and making sure that we are going to the ruralest part of our region to serve and giving the right remuneration price to the farmers. In short, we're trying to do the holistic development of each part of this dairy business, which is really going to be helpful. We also mentioned about, our Honorable Minister mentioned about the fodder. We're also thinking about creating a fodder bank. So we're actually working with the cooperatives of farmers and making sure that if they can lend out their lands and actually grow the crops and use that fodder to actually serve, and when there's a shortage of fodder, we can provide them, because if we do that, our increment of productivity will increase by 10 to 15% during the lean season. So that is an important thing. In terms of women's empowerment, we know 70% of the dairy business is contained by women. We're making sure that my father been working in this industry for more than 50 years, Mr. Arun Nark, and when in 1990, he have given all the checks on the woman's name, so make sure that who is working, who is getting paid as well. So we're making sure that the Mahila Bachat Ghats are also attached to it and providing all necessary So we are providing all the necessary support with the Mahila Bachat Ghats as well, to making sure that the byproducts they're getting paid valuably, and we are connecting directly with the buyers. So we are connecting an organization between the producers as well as the people who are commercially can buy those and sell it. So there is a manufacturer, and we are creating the demand as well to make sure that is fulfilled very well. So in short, I think with NDDB's help, we are also getting the support from the Government of India as well, from DIDF, AHIDF, and RGM as well, to make sure that we're using every possible way to use these schemes and use the help to really making sure our products gets better and quality gets better at the affordable price. If we look at our current GDP growth, we have a dream of getting the $5 trillion economy. And to do so, we want to make sure that all the raw material or the agriculture products need to get paid very well. Till the time we don't pay them very well, there is no disposable income that will be available in the market. So we have to make sure the farmers should get paid very well, to make sure we have to provide all the technologies to be more productive and more efficient to do so. So in short, every possible way we want to convert that opportunity into wealth. That is going to be a challenge, but that's where we're going to be working and collaborating with the different parts of the world as well. If we go to the next slide, just gives you a little bit idea in terms of the processes, as I mentioned, in terms of cattle feed. We are providing the ration balancing program. We also have our own cattle feed under the brand name of Mahalakshmi. We have almost 650 metric tons per day. That's the production that's happening. We have the supplements as well of mineral mixture and a patented milk replacer of the calf. So again, thanks to the NDDB team, which have supported this to make this happen. The fodder development program is a crucial one, as Madam Joshi mentioned as well, that the seed distribution services, as well as the silage and silo pits are really creating a lot much easier option to create the silage and store it during the hotter seasons and provide the necessary feed. Just to give you an idea, there are a wide range of products that Gokul has to offer, but just to make sure, we are currently spending 1% lower our sales budget to have an umbrella branding strategy in terms of trying to sell everything at one time and giving almost back to 80 to 86% back to the farmers and to the dairy farmers, creating the story of 0.7 million entrepreneurs with the reach of 7 million consumers. These are some of the schemes that you should be aware and should know that we are really proud of. We are doing the women's leadership development programs. We are doing the animal treatment service, which includes the mobile clinics as well, which we're doing the Milko bikes. We are doing the Milko clinics as well. There are emergency doctors that creating, there are more than 500 LSS that exist. There are 64 doctors that is on the payroll of Gokul, but also we have the collaboration with the government doctors and the private doctors as well. We are providing the Provident Fund schemes, not only to the employees, but the farmers as well. We are creating many training programs in terms of awareness of law, health awareness, self-development, leadership development, hygiene awareness, which was part of the discussion before, to arrange gatherings and micro-training centers at different places. If you look at it, I think so one of the calf raiding programs was the innovation idea that was done by Gokul and actually endorsed by NDDB as well, and when we were working before. So I think we were blessed with Dr. Kurian's blessings as well as Dr. Amruta Patel, who we have really blessed in terms of creating Gokul where we are and making sure we are successful today. So just to give you an idea, we have biogas as well as slurry plants, which is manure, include the growth sprays and other stuff that is actually giving the byproducts as well. Also, this is some other example of the ETP plant output, which is we're using for the electricity generation, heat recovery for the turbines and overall. Just to going back to the, when you see this slide, this just represents our culture. You see Lord Krishna, Lord Balaram in this one. From 10,000 years before, this has been happening. The agriculture and dairy being working together. I think so, we just have to use what we are made up of. This is just not a business forward, this is our culture. We have to really integrate with the latest technology and bring that Indian culture to the globe and make sure this dairy business gets successful. India makes the best impression out in the world and provide the great quality product with the collaboration of the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chetan. I think this is an example of the power of cooperatives and the power of professional management coming together to make the maximum benefit for the farmer. I now welcome Mr. Niranjan Karade, Team Leader NDDB, on his talk for manure management for increasing income from dairying, the Indian experience.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's a privilege to be here in front of you. A lot of discussion has already happened in biogas, but still there are some aspects which I'll quickly touch upon, and I'll take you through this interesting journey of manure management which we are on. It touches almost every aspect, and I'll get into specific details of it and very quickly. I'll ensure I'll do it very quickly. This is a common slide. You must have seen this many a times. The takeaway is Indian dairying remains to be smallholder. If the dairy per se, the milk, if milk is getting produced decently, obviously the dung is getting produced decently, and the potential is huge. Even if the recoverable dung, if you look at, it's more than 1,000 million metric ton, and if we can exploit this potential, nothing like it. I think this slide is already shown by Chetan. But traditionally we have been using dung for various purposes. Dung was used for various purposes. But if you actually, in the current times, if you start using dung through anaerobic digestion, the potential which we have in India is, it can satisfy almost 50% of India's LPG needs. At the same time, it can satisfy 40% of India's NPK needs. So this is the huge potential which India's dung has. Now there are two aspects to it. One is household level biogas plants. Obviously, because of the decentralized model which we have, at the household level, biogas plants can be installed. And biogas plants are nothing new in India. But yes, then there are some perspectives, some challenges which smallholder farmers come up with. They need preference. They are preferring individual ownership. They want ease in installation. They want consistency of gas pressure. They want portability of plants, the kind of settlements we have. And most importantly, they want a remunerative disposal mechanism for slurry. Slurry is getting produced every day. A 2 cubic meter capacity biogas plant produces almost 100 liters of slurry every day. They use it in their own agriculture fields, but being small holders, there is a lot of slurry which becomes available. So there is a challenge of disposal, and if we can actually provide income from slurry, that's a big benefit which they can have. Then there can be centralized biogas plants also, big capacity biogas plants. And here the challenge is every day the dung has to be aggregated. The dung has to be aggregated on everyday basis. Plus remuneration has to be provided for dung. Now we will touch upon the household level biogas plants. Quickly, when we started our journey in NDDB, we had a lot of discussions on the traditional biogas plants also, and then we started working on some flexi biogas models also. And we introduced, madam already told about the famous Jakariyapura model also, which is already recognized very well. And we introduced these flexi biogas plants there, which addressed a lot of concern which I explained in the last slide, in terms of consistency of gas pressure, by having booster pumps, which can run whenever needed. Then portability, ease in installation, even the repairs, which can be easily done by the farmers themselves. So our first target was to address the biogas plant issue, wherein farmers are very comfortable using biogas plants. But the next challenge remained. The next challenge remained was, what do we do? What do we do with this slurry? And what we saw was, yes, biogas plants were actually accruing savings to biogas farmers. But what was happening was, these are savings. In terms of savings, if you calculate a biogas plant worth of 30,000 rupees or 25,000 rupees can bring you a payback to the farmers in terms of saving within 2 years. But ultimately these remain as savings. They are not earnings. And in Indian conditions, whatever comes into our pocket, we value that more. And that's why we wanted to work on slurry. If we can give remunerative mechanism or any remuneration for the slurry which is getting produced at the biogas plants, definitely farmers will actually sustain the biogas plants also. And then the impact on agriculture, which we actually expect, is huge. And that is when we started working on the value chain of slurry. This is how the manure management model then ultimately evolved. Obviously, the focus was on women, and we have been ensuring that wherever household level biogas plants are getting installed, they are owned by women farmers. In first such experiment, the Jakaria model which Madam talked about, was all these women have actually collectivized themselves. India's first of its kind cooperative, manure cooperative has been established. They are managing their own transactions. What are they doing? They are actually aggregating the surplus slurry through their own cooperative. They are processing it and they are producing slurry based organic fertilizers, and obviously selling them through leveraging the cooperatives network. NDDB has also obviously helped. We are nurturing these cooperatives, but at the same time what we have done is we have introduced a Sudhan trademark, just to create a common identity, because going ahead all these cooperatives will need a common identity to promote their own slurry based fertilizers. As Chetan was speaking about, already Kolhapur has also introduced Mahalakshmi Sudhan as their own brand, or Gokul Sudhan as their own brand of fertilizers. Even as it's happening in the Kolhapur, almost 25 plus 12, 37 cooperatives are now getting into it and introducing their own brands. The first challenge, obviously there are three stages of any value chain. First is procurement, second is processing, third is obviously the marketing part of it or disposal part of it, you can say. Remember, the difference here is in terms of dairy, the milk actually comes to a milk collection center. In case of procurement of slurry, the slurry cannot be actually taken by farmer to a collection center. So slurry procurement has to happen at the farm level. So it has to happen at the farm level. All these farmers have to be geotagged, and that's what we did. So we actually geotagged all these farmers. Then the next was, having created a route, when you actually reach to the farmer level, how do we actually procure? On what basis do we procure? And that's where we wanted to work on the testing mechanisms of slurry. And then we actually collected many samples, tested them, tried to build the relationships, and finally we worked out, yes, at this level, at the primary level, bricks for understanding dissolved solids and then the electrical conductivity to see the microbial activity can be the parameters to start with. We are also trying to establish how can actually the dissolved solids or bricks can have an impact on organic carbon, and our results are showing that yes, bricks can have an impact. There is really a relationship between bricks and organic carbon also. So in a way, the theory is working very well. We are procuring the way we procure the milk. Now we have started procuring the slurry also. Then obviously there are, as we do in dairy also, there are passbook to all these women farmers, and the payment goes directly to their bank accounts. So this is what we are ensuring. The next step comes is, when you aggregate, how do we actually transport? And here the tankers are specifically designed. The tankers are designed to carry the slurry. At the same time, these tankers also have shovels attached to it so that they can be applied in the field under the layer of soil, so that there are no losses of micronutrients of the soil. So this is also what we are ensuring. So first thing, okay, we are relatively okay with the first thing, that is procurement mechanism of the slurry. Then comes the next stage, and the next stage is about processing. In Indian conditions, when you have decentralized models, whatever you are processing, you are setting up processing facilities, these have to be very economical, these have to be very simple, these have to be easy to handle by the operators also. And that is where we started working on it. The slurry is bought. Our first challenge was to separate the slurry. And then we started separating the slurry into solid and liquid. The important thing we wanted to ensure was the solid recovery has to be maximum. There are sludge dewatering machines which are available in the market, but we had to customize them in a way that our solid recovery, because slurry has a lot of water content into it, that recovery has to happen at the maximum level. And we are very, very happy to say that we have achieved even the liquid which comes out of this separated slurry contains only less than 1% of the solids, which was very, very good achievement which we could actually make. Then the solids which are coming out, we are adding rock phosphate to it and producing phosphate-rich organic manure. I'll come to what is exactly the PROM. And the liquid part which is coming out, that also is used by farmers in their drips, in their sprinklers. Because there are less solid contents, farmers can easily use them in their sprinklers. So equipments, we are working on the equipments for the process. We are maximizing the solid recovery. Ultimately, all this, we want to ensure that the efficiency is at the highest level, because at the Indian conditions, that efficiency matters. We have to work a lot on compliances also. Though it's at a decentralized level, the compliances remains the same, and we have to comply with all the norms, rules and regulations. So these are the products which presently we are manufacturing. We are now manufacturing not only in Anand, but there are many other cooperatives we have started manufacturing these products. PROM, which has become a ready-made alternative to the phosphatic fertilizers. Then there are liquid-based micronutrient products which are produced, and interestingly what we have seen is slurry, and even the slurry separated liquid, which has a microbial load, which is a very good carrier for all the nutrients which you add. So whatever value addition you are doing, the impact on the crop is very good. So ultimately all these products are going into the soil, they are soil friendly, they enhance the maximum plant uptake, and there are no adverse impact on the soil. So there are no foreign additions apart from dung or dung-based slurry as we call in these products. So there are no crop residues, there are no city waste or any type of waste which are there. And how are they selling it? All the dairy cooperatives, they are leveraging their own network. They are leveraging their own network to sell all such type of organic fertilizers. It's a reverse supply chain which is working. We have not stopped here, because obviously the efficacy of the products has to be established. And intensively for 1 year, we actually worked with Anand Agriculture University in Gujarat, who actually tested these products on 2 crops, that is wheat and rice, in different Kharif and Rabi seasons, and the results are very good. What we have seen is, in terms of yield, there is more than 20% growth. In terms of straw yield also, the growth is considerable. At the same time, in terms of microbial count, the growth in the soil, the growth is very good. Just to give you an example, our root enhancer product, you can see the impact of the root enhancer product, and it's just because the slurry is a carrier. What we are now doing is, we are conducting these studies parallelly in other parts of India also. So Banaras Hindu University in Uttar Pradesh, already we have started a study in that. We have not stopped here, we have actually worked with the farmers also. So there are demonstration studies which are conducted, then there are systematic feedbacks which are conducted. Even we conducted study on this slurry separated liquid also, and the results are very good, which we have come up with. Now I'll just give you an example. Obviously everybody finally asks about the economics of it, paisa kitna hai. And then this is this case of a simple manure cooperative. This is a case study of a cooperative 21-22. What have been their results? The results are, they actually paid almost 0.6 million rupees for their farmer members through purchase of slurry. The net surplus that was achieved by this particular cooperative in the year 21-22 was about 1.3 million. Remember, all these farmers, 450 farmers who are attached to these cooperatives, almost half of them have stopped supplying slurry, which is very good for us because they have started using the slurry in their own field. That shows the success of our model in terms of slurry has become commoditized now. They are actually doing it, using in their own field. They are selling it locally also. Remaining slurry they are selling to the cooperative. So savings accrued to these 450 farmers from cooking fuel is almost 9.7 million. So to total value which is getting generated for farmers in 1 year is around 11.7 million. We have also compared this with the farmers who have used this to then the fertilizers, the slurry based organic fertilizers, and they have foregone the chemical fertilizers. So saving accrued to them because these fertilizers are very reasonably priced. They have slurry as a carrier, so they are very reasonably priced. The savings accrued is almost 7.6 million. Government of India subsidy, we also calculated the Government of India subsidy. The way they are replacing the DAP and by using the PROM, the saving accrued even to the Government of India is around 3.4 million. And obviously the employment part comes in. So total value generated just because of a cooperative in 21-22 was almost 23.7 million, and this is against an investment in just 1 year of about 16 million. So this is the kind of value a simple model can generate. And remember this model which we are now replicating in 25 districts of Gujarat, at the same time almost 13 districts or 13 cooperatives across India. Then the carbon footprint, and we have not yet calculated the carbon footprint part of it. We are working on it. Then the slurry consumption, sharing and impact on yield. If we start monetizing this, the numbers would actually be very high. I'll just touch upon the centralized biogas plants also. The one was, at one side there was a household level biogas plants, but then there are centralized level biogas plants also, large capacity biogas plants also. What's happening there? The dung is getting aggregated. Banaskantha Milk Union has already established a very good model of bio-CNG. The dung is getting aggregated and bio-CNG is produced, which is actually dispensed through a fuel station. And the slurry-based fertilizers are sold to their farmer members. They've already gone ahead with replicating in their own districts. Then comes, as Madam has already talked about, the Varanasi model. This is the very interesting model which NTDB is now working on, and it will be ready in December. In this model, 4,000 cubic meter biogas plants is going to be established, and 100 metric tons of dung every day would be aggregated, and slurry-based fertilizers would also be produced. But most importantly, the dairy would now run on dung. When we establish this, we can imagine the potential of all dairy plants. If we can run the dairy plants on dung, that would be the biggest achievement which we can actually have. And that's what we are trying. And we are almost certain that we will be able to achieve this. Toyofuku-san has already talked about the Maruti and SRDI model which we are now evolving. We are at the initial stage, but we are confident the kind of potential Maruti has and NDDB has, we will be able to come up with a very good model in this also. But all these models, remember, returns on slurry-based fertilizers are going to be the key. And we have to work on slurry-based fertilizers, and we have to promote organic fertilizers. Government of India is pushing very hard. They have been supporting in this. Already the fertilizer control order has all the elements which we require for defining the products. So it's time for organic fertilizers to be promoted. And finally, in the nutshell, it's actually touching every aspect of livelihood and nutrition. The manure management model, whether it's a centralized capacity model or a smallholder level biogas plant based model, it's touching almost every aspect of livelihood and nutrition, whether it's poverty, whether it's good health, whether it's gender equality. It's already a woman focused model, so there are no doubts about it. And then the clean fuel part of it, Government of India's Swachh Bharat mission, it's contributing, improving soil health, and then the climate change which has been talked about in very detail. So every aspect of it is being touched by this. And finally, to conclude, We've just started. And we are going to the next level now. The dung is going to get established as a commodity now. Then we are going to address the localized need. It's not going to be the same model everywhere. The model is going to change, but we will address that challenge also. Only thing is we have to ensure that the farmer remains at the core of the model. Whichever way, carbon credits are going to be the important part of it. And we have already started registration of projects for carbon credits, and we are sure by next year we would be providing additional income for farmers through carbon credits also. So the work has already started. Then collaborations with fuel and fertilizer industry and even the auto industry, which we have already started. But what we actually invite all of you here is, please work with us on research and innovation. There is a lot of work which still to be done in terms of testing mechanism, in terms of strengthening this value chain, in terms of having the equipments, the low cost equipments, having the efficient equipments for the management of dung, management of slurry, which are very important. And even this decentralized medium capacity biogas plants. There are large capacity biogas plants, there are small capacity biogas plants. Maybe at some point of time, we will have to have medium capacity biogas plants also at which can be managed at the village level itself by dairy cooperatives. So we want to work in all this. We have already showcased our intent. NDDB Mrida, the NDDB's wholly owned subsidiary, is here. Under the leadership of our chairman, we have gone ahead seriously. Government of India has pushed us really hard for having this subsidiary, and we are going to go with this. It will focus on research, it will focus on implementation, it will focus on scaling up, and it will actually ensure the reach through leveraging the network of cooperatives. So I am concluding the milk revolution transformed the dairying in India. Now it is time for dung. It will transform waste to wealth, as we call Apashish to say Samruddhi. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Niranjan. That was an excellent presentation. I think it showcases exactly what the National Dairy Development Board really stands for. That is innovation based on the farmer, rising literally from the soil, using all the best scientific brains behind it, but doing what works at the farm level. That is the power of NDTB. And from my side also, because we have so much emotional investment in the whole biogas, biofertilizer aspect, I wish the company all the success. We have, with Mineshji's permission, a few questions. Okay, so the floor is open for questions to any of the panelists. 2, 3, 4 questions, not more than that. Ji.
जैसा कि इन्होंने अभी समस्त जो वक्ताओं ने बताया था, आने वाले टाइम में फोडर की बहुत स्कैरिसिटी होगी और कभी ये सीजनल होता है, कहीं पे फोडर बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाता है किसी सीजन में, और कंट्री वाइज कंट्री में भी कुछ डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में बम्फर फोडर डेवलप होता है और कुछ में स्कैरिसिटी रहती है। तो मैं अनुरोध करूँगा कि भारत सरकार हर एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर्स पे फोडर बैंक बनाए, और फोडर बैंक जब स्कैरिसिटी वाले जो ज़िले होंगे उस साल में, तो सरप्लस वाला फोडर बैंक से वहाँ चला जाएगा, तो रेट इसकी बराबर मेंटेन रहेगी। वरना इस साल गेहूं के भूसे की कीमत 1500 रुपये क्विंटल थी, कुछ स्टेट में 1500 रुपये क्विंटल, कहीं 600 रुपये थी। तो ये इनबैलेंस जो है इसको भी अपन को शॉर्ट आउट करना चाहिए। और दूसरा मेरा ये है कि इंदिरा गांधी कैनाल जो यहाँ से हिमालय से शुरू होती है और रेगिस्तान में होती हुई लास्ट तक पहुँचती है, ठीक गुजरात को टच करती है, इसके एरिए में सेवन घास, आपने सुना होगा सेवन घास, नाम है घास का नाम सेवन घास। सेवन घास जो है यदि डेवलप करें तो अकेली इंदिरा गांधी कैनाल के एरिए पे इतनी सेवन घास हो सकती है जो कि बहुत प्रोटीन इनरिच है, पशुआहार की भी ज़रूरत नहीं। यदि वो घास जानवरों को खाने को मिल जाए तो उसे गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और भारत सरकार दोनों मिल कर के इसको सेवन घास को डेवलप करे तो ये आपके पशुआहार की भी पूर्ति करेगी और फोडर की ये पूरे आधे भारत को इतना फोडर दे सकता है। आधे भारत में जितना पशुओं को फोडर चाहिए इस बेल्ट में से डेवलप किया जा सकता है। थैंक यू।
बहुत ही बढ़िया सजेशन था आपका। आई एम श्योर हम मिलके राजस्थान सरकार के साथ मिलके जरूर काम करेंगे इस पे। थैंक यू।
So good evening, respected chairman and the speakers. I recall there was a lecture by a European teacher showing a wheelbarrow full of euros. He started his lecture stating, manure is money. So today it is true, last 2 hours, the eminent speakers have emphasized so much on manure, probably by down the line another 10 years, we may have to think of having a cow for dung more than milk. It's true. Now my point is, we have been convinced how to go about a compressed biogas to a compressed natural gas to our advantage. It's fantastic. The resources is abundant. But same time, with the speakers, my question, the biogas is equally toxic, explosive and dangerous also. Obviously, they being into large scale mega production must have taken care. But issue is about the harmful components which are tagged to biogas while its production, plus also the air contaminants, because that is also our equal concern today. I just need any of the, our Sujiki Saab or my friend from NADB, probably their little experience and how did they counter this, please.
I'll look at you. Okay. At the household level, there are 2-3 aspects which you actually explained. Yes, with biogas, there are certain challenges when you actually go in the compression, but these are at the larger capacity. They are at the larger capacity. So all the compliances, the care, the expertise has to come in at the that level. The purification part of it and all the aspects. So yes, these are taken care of. They have to be taken care of rather, and we will have to push for it. Yes, I agree with you. At the household level, these are biogas plants where minimum level of purification happens in terms of removal of H2S, then the moisture part of it, and that can be directly used. So the harm at the household level is very negligible. And we have seen through our experience, there has not been any hazard at the household level biogas plants, and the larger capacity biogas plants are at the industrial level. You talked about the contaminants. I understand the contaminants in terms of you are talking about right from the dung part of it. And that is where we are trying to ensure that the entire sanctity of the value chain is maintained. So we procure slurry in case of household level biogas plants, which is already digested, doubly digested I can say, because animal has already digested something and then the biogas slurry has been digested. So there we have tried, and only slurry is procured through quality parameters. Same thing even in terms of large capacity biogas plant, Banas is doing, they are procuring dung through established quality parameters. So we will have to ensure that also, that the sanctity remains. As the scale grows up, there are going to be challenges in terms of contamination, but quality, ensuring the quality has to be the answer. Thank you.
That was a great answer. Thank you, Niranjan. One more question, please. Then we can wrap up.
Really, myself, Dr. Rajaratnam, is an excellent presentation, and also thanks go to our Manisha chairman who had done a wonderful work as such. and I had an opportunity to visit nearly some 2 years before. The progress what he had made is wonderful. My request to the government and the officials also, can we make it in a large scale so that the entire country can get benefit out of the efforts given by this NDDB. This is what my request to the government of India. Thank you.
Yes, precisely. That is why, as Niranjan said, the very idea of creating a subsidiary called Mrida was pushed almost single-handedly by our previous Secretary, Animal Husbandry, Atul Chaturvedi sir. It was his vision. It was he who drove the Ramnagar plant also. And the thing is that the kind of detailed scientific work on the ground which is being done right now by the NDDB team, until that is, because I have been working in biogas for quite some time now on my various portfolios, and it's not easy to get to that scale. For that, you first must have your basics right. I think only now the basics are coming together correctly. I think Mr. Tafakki has also probably been watching the biogas scene for several years. Now we are coming to a stage where you can only replicate when your basis is very strong. Once the basis is strong, then replication is the job of the government. That won't be hard.
All right, so on this note, we wrap up this very interactive session, and now I would like to ask our chair to kindly felicitate fellow speakers with the mementos and the certificates. So first, I would like to call upon Mr. Alat to kindly step ahead so that they may receive their memento and the certificate. Also, can we have a huge round of applause? Now I would like to call upon Mr. Toyo Fuku to kindly step ahead so that they may receive their memento along with the certificate. Now I would like to ask Dr. Chetan Arun Narke to step ahead so that they may receive their memento along with the certificate. And one more time, can we have a huge round of applause? Now I would like to call upon Mr. Niranjan to step ahead so that they may receive their memento along with the certificate. And to felicitate our respective chair, I would like to call upon Manish Shah, Chairman, NDDB. Can we have huge round of applause? Thank you everyone for your valuable time and your valuable insights. It was an interactive session. Thank you so very much. Also, I would like to ask everyone to kindly gather for a group picture. Also, I have a very, very humble request to kindly